Hey, what's up guys? This is the third Dwarf Fortress tutorial video, and I guess what I'm going to talk about today is hotkeys, and like what you do when you first start out, because you don't know what anything is. So, here's the hotkey menu. Probably the most useful one is Q, right? Q allows you to interact with like interactable shit like shops and whatnot. I don't have any shops right now, so I can't really show you any of that, but we can use the wagon as an example. At any time you want to like go back to this menu, if you press Q and you want to go back, you can hit escape, and it goes back to this. Now, if you press K is to like inspect individual tiles. So right now, see my little X moving around? It's under some dense meadow sweet. It's like a bush. Oh, it's like actually grass. Now it's over a chestnut tree. Now, if you move it over, you can highlight your dog, some yak bulls and your individual dwarves, but you can also see there's a wagon here. Now if you press Q, you can interact with this wagon. And if you press X to deconstruct the wagon, you get like some free wood or whatever. It's like a beginning hack, you know? It's nice, free wood. So first things first, you need to know what things are. So we'll press K, and we'll look at these little triangles. These are upward slopes. Now when you see an upward slope, it means there's more map above this gray. So if you're on a laptop, you press Shift and 5, and you just went up a level. And now you see downward facing green triangles. That means there's a downward slope, and if you press Control and 5, you can go back down. This was one of the weirdest things for me to get used to when I first started this game. I didn't know like what the fuck it was. Basically, so if you go up, and say if your dwarves are up here, they can see everything down here, and if they have like crossbows, they can actually shoot from up here. It's like, it's like the high ground, Next, open space. All right, murky pool. This is good. I mentioned before I started in a saltwater like marsh. This is fresh water. This is good. This is what you want. If you can find something like this, you can build a well from it, and that'll be all you need. Now, looking around some more. Oh, and if you're wondering how I'm moving around so quickly instead of just like this, if you press Shift and move around with your arrow keys, it jumps 10 blocks at a time. This is extremely useful. What else? Also, if at any time you're like lost, like say if you're going up, you're moving around, you want to explore. What the fuck? And say if like you lost your place, like I don't know where I started. If you press F1, it takes you back to where you first embarked. And you can create other custom hotkeys like this too. If you press H, say if I go like over here, where this like one piece of water is, I press H, press F2, because I want to bind the F2 hotkey, and I press Z for zoom here. So if I press F1, I zoom back to my start, and if I press F2, I'm back at the water. This is extremely useful. What else? This right here, this open space, this means that this is on a higher ground than the thing below. So if you press Control 5, there's a brook, so this is water. This is also extremely useful. And I guess this is like the mouth of the river, because there's all these like little spaces coming in. Alright, next important hotkey. U. U is the unit list. You can see like all your dwarves here. See? And if you press C, you can zoom in on the dwarves. All my animals are here. If you're wondering how I got like a water buffalo and a yak, you start off with 2 random animals. What else? It also shows your wild animals, and it'll show your enemies. So right now on the map, the things that I have discovered so far are 3 geese and a gander. So if I press C, or you can press V as well. So press V, and you can zoom in. Oh, I'm sorry, V is for details, so he's a small bird with a long neck. He's gigantic and quite fat. Great. If you press C, you'll zoom in on this bird, and here they are. They're all over here. And as you can see, the river goes on for a while. Oh, they're actually close to my settlement too. Alright, next important one, Z. Oops, I'm sorry. Z. Status. Here you can manage your kitchens and your stocks. You can see your population of your dwarves. You can also see your income here, or your created wealth, imports and exports when you have a trader. We'll get into that when the time comes. Animals. If you have animals highlighted and press enter, you have all these options. Now, this is very important later on in the game when you have like cats running around and you need to kill them so your lag isn't, your lag gets fixed. You could press, if you have a butcher, like a dwarf who butchers, and you press B, it'll say ready for slaughter. That means the dwarf will go off, find that animal, and drag it to the butcher and kick its ass. Oh god, my phone. Oh shit. Yeah, so this is very important. Not much use for right now, but it will be in the future. Also, if a dwarf adopts a pet, it'll have its name next, like over here it'll say owner, and it'll say like the dwarf, like Samuel L. Jackson. If it has an owner, you cannot butcher it. That's why it's extremely important to get rid of your kittens right away, as soon as they pop out of the cat. Because if your dwarves start adopting the kittens, you can't kill them. So keep that in mind, but well, that's a lesson for later. Alright, next. You guys really need to think about building some shops. But we don't have any wood, I don't think. So, the other very important hotkey, D, designations. This is for jobs. If you want to have your dwarves mine something, if you want to have them chop down trees, if you want to have them build a channel, or build some walls, or gather some plants. I have no wood, so I really want some wood. So at the start of the hotkey screen, press D, and find chop trees, which is T. So you start, you drag the cursors like a grid. So press enter once, and you can see there's a little green blinking crosshair on that tree. And I press shift, and I skip around a ton of blocks, and I press enter again. Now all the trees have turned brown. That means my dwarf, the woodcutter, this guy right here, I believe. Yep, the woodcutter. See how his job? I got here by pressing V, by the way. If you press V, you can see your units. He has no job, see? But if you look at the woodcutter, he has a little thing that says fell tree. That means he's going to go cut down a fucking tree. You can see all his proficiencies here by pressing V. The default menu shows all his proficiencies. If you press I, it shows his inventory. Likewise here, just like the starting screen, if you press the function key and the plus and minus buttons, you can scroll up and down. P, if you press P for preferences, you can go to his labor and give him individual tasks. W is for wounds. We'll get into that later on in the game when the time comes. And if you press Z, you can press, it shows his like individual dwarf bio, and you can press Y and customize him, give him a new name. You can press R and see his relationships. As you can see, he has some friends and some acquaintances. They're not friends yet. And press enter and see what he's thinking. It's actually a she, and she's almost never sick and strong. And later on in the game, they'll develop more feelings and whatnot. So we have this dwarf cutting down some trees. Now, dwarves like to live underground because they're, groundly fellows. So you really want to have a fort that's underground because it's the most safe, and there's minerals under here, So we need to find a good spot to dig. We need like a really safe entrance, someplace we're not going to get fucked by any geese. If you have a mouse wheel, you can also do this, and it zooms out all the way. You get a better idea of what the map looks like. So this is the main plains. Press Shift 5. This is the upper part. Okay. I don't want to cross the river, but it would be a good defense. Well, whatever. I'll worry about that later. For now, we're just gonna do simple mining. So press D, right? And then press D again for mine. Now, just like cutting down trees, press enter, and then drag. I typically like to have a 3x3, entranceway to get in, but just for right now, we're just a bunch of dwarves, we just want to live, so you just want to do that. Now, see how it's blinking? The little, see how these are blinking? That means this is the next designated, destination or whatever. They're gonna go here, and as you can see, they're gonna go dig. So now they're digging out all this stuff, and the ground's becoming red. This is soil. This is or clay. This is important. That means you can plant crops here. You can only plant crops in soil or clay. You can't do it in stone, which is after the 4th layer or something like that. So they're digging, and now you want to dig underground because you must dig deeper, my friends. So press D again, and press J for the downward stairway. Actually, here, I'll do up-down stairway. Basically, stairways is a confusing concept. I guess I'll finish off the video with this. This is a good way to stop. Upward staircase. If you have an upward staircase, it means dwarves can go up of it. They can only go up. And to delete these functions, by the way, say if you want to delete it, press X and remove destination, and do the same like boxing method, like press enter and press enter again, and the designations disappeared. So, if you have an upward stairway, and say if I build this stairway here, and I press Shift F5, the dwarf will end up right here. And then you could build another upward staircase, but then they can only go up and they can't go down. So, a great way to fix this problem is to build an up-down stairway by pressing I. It shows up as an X. If they build this stairway, it means it has access to the level below, so Control 5, and it has access to the level above, Shift 5. And if you do this again, if you build one here, directly above the tile below it, you can now go up and down these two staircases and have access to the top. In this case, it's not a good idea because this leads right to outside, and if there's a bunch of like goblins, they can just like come down and raid your fort. So I will get rid of that, but instead, I can just build a regular downward staircase right here. That means if my dwarves go up with my up-down staircase, they can now access the downward staircase only, which means they can go down it, which is what I want. So from this level, you go down 1, Control 5, and now you're back here on the up-down staircase. And it means, and also, so you can't go up, which means you can't get outside from up here, which is exactly what you want. And then when you go down some more, you're going to want to build up-down staircases the whole way, because you want like a big central staircase, because, you know, who doesn't want one of those? Alright, so screw around with the hotkeys some more, practice digging and building staircases, I guess. Get kind of familiar with the interface, and yeah, the next video I'll tell you guys about shops, which is like B for buildings. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.